Hey, everybody, welcome to the Beat LA podcast. Before the episode begins, live from Chicago, or Chicago episode, we wanted to give a quick shout out to Willie Mays. We recorded this episode on Tuesday, and he passed on Tuesday night at the game we were at in the third inning. And we just wanted to do a quick little segment before the episode begins. Pop icon, pop cultural baseball legend. I don't know what we can say about him that hasn't already been said, but a sad day, but what a great life, Paul.
Yeah, man, we just felt, we do a lot of silliness and hijinks here, but we needed to acknowledge this. I'll never forget where I was sitting when I got a text that it had happened, and when they did the moment of silence, that fittingly wasn't a moment of silence at Wrigley Field. People took off their hats and cheered, as they should have, because Willie kind of changed how people watch baseball. He made it exciting. He made it creative and artistic. And he really was sort of the crown prince of San Francisco. I think he put San Francisco on the map as a major city when the Giants moved there in '58. So he will forever be on the Mount Rushmore of our city. And we're lucky we had him.
You know, I remember my dad had a picture that he bought at a card show, and I haven't thought about that till right now. And it was framed in his office, and it was Willie Mays was in the center, Mantle was on his left, and Duke Snider was on his right. And that sort of triumvirate of legendary center fielders, and the fact that Willie was still with us till this time, it's really sort of a passing of sort of the last great in baseball.
He was the oldest living Hall of Famer. And so it really is the end of an era and the last Negro League player. And, obviously fittingly with this Rickwood game that's happening this evening, which I will be very much in front of the TV. And for the first time this season, not worrying about if the Giants win or lose. I'm going to be much more interested in seeing how they do it as a celebration of the life of Willie Mays.
Well said. Well said. And on that note, shout out to Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid. And we are going to begin the Beat LA episode live from Chicago right now.
Live from Chicago.
Hello and welcome to the Beat LA podcast. My name is Matt Ferrucci. I'm a writer, director in Los Angeles, and I am joined, as always, by Dr. Johnny Fever today, Mr. Paul Rule. Paul, how are you?
Cheers, like Chevy Chase and Caddyshack. The beer wasn't open before. It was our first time drinking on a pod, Matt, because we were in Chicago.
Yep.
Just outside the friendly confines of Wrigley Field for Giants Cubs.
Right.
Safely ensconced in the Sloan Suite.
Oh, what's going on?
I'm just getting a beer out of the beer fridge here, Matt. My good friend Kirk Alain,
Yep.
the Sloan Valve Company, the sponsor of the Cubs, spring training sponsor. Look at my giant breasts. And they make these things for all you men out there who have used a public urinal right there, this thing. That's a Sloan Valve. Anyway, thank you, Kirk, for hosting us. That's why we're here. And Matt, give people on YouTube a little glimpse of what's happening here.
Well, you know what? We're going to cut to the video. So right now you can see this is what we're looking at. This is how we're recording this little BTS. But that's what I'm looking at right there. This is the Sloan suite. Paul's right next door in the other suite. Yeah, we're doing this live from Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, Paul, we are in a heat wave out here. It's hot. It's damn hot. You could cook some eggs on some car hoods out here.
95 and humid.
Woo, baby. But yes, folks, little groundwork here. We are live in Chicago for the Giants Cubs series. We're recording this on Tuesday. Last night, Paul and I and the whole crew, we were at Giants Stadium to see the Thairo Estrada 9th inning 3-run homer to get to win that game. It was fucking great.
He hits a high fly ball left field. Hap at the ivy. Gone! Thairo Estrada!
Unbelievable game. We're going to get more into last night, but we're recording this on Tuesday. On today's show, we're talking with Alain from Power Book 4. He's shooting in Chicago, so we had to have him on. They're doing their final season 3 right now. He's going to come on, talk a little Lakers coaching search, a little Celtics, a little NBA free agency. And then after that, we may have a cast of characters popping in. We cannot guarantee it. But Paul, I was thinking about this morning in the shower. If 2 pods ago, with Reggie Watkins was our first take episode. And last week with Ted Humphrey was our Charlie Rose episode. If we get these knuckleheads from Chicago into the pod, this could be our Pat McAfee show.
Or maybe it'll never air.
Because where are they right now? Where are these guys? Where are your buddies right now?
Well, we were celebrating Mike Bowser's birthday with some little tequila at Big Star Tacos, which is in the same building as the Zachary Hotel where we currently are.
Yep.
And now they're over at Murphy's Bleachers. And mind you, it is still 5 hours to game time.
Yes, that's right. But Paul and I, we're here in Chicago, like the Blues Brothers. Cut to the clip, Nick.
First you trade the Cadillac for a microphone. Then you lie to me about the band. Now you're going to put me right back in the joint.
They're not going to catch us. We're on a mission from God.
We are on a mission from God. Let's get right into it, Paul. Last night, what a game. What a back and forth seesaw game between two absolutely mediocre teams. But it felt like a playoff game. Last night, the Giants got on the board with a Mike Yastrzemski triple, which we completely negged him into.
It was beautiful. What did you say about Mike Yastrzemski? That he is the best. What did you said a line that I cannot remember. He looks better being bad than any player you've ever seen.
Yeah, he looks so good at doing. No one looks better doing less than Mike Yastrzemski.
He's a good-looking man. He's got a kind of a chiseled jaw. The uni always looking sharp. He's got that nice left-handed swing. He had a good game last night. He had a triple. He had a bunt single. He threw a guy out at home plate.
Yeah, he was looking great. Who didn't look great, and we just got to say it now because he could be. This could be his epitaph. This could be a wake for Trenton Brooks. Oh my God, Giants fans! I know we're not on an island around this because every Giant fan around us was turning to us and saying the same thing me and Paul were was that Trenton Brooks should be selling cars at Trenton Brooks Ceremony Kia. Okay, what a bad game, Paul.
It was an all-time bad game. He left the bases loaded twice. And then he didn't catch a pop fly, an infield pop fly that we called off Thairo that led to a 3-run homer, a 4-run inning and a 3-run homer that put them in a major hole. I don't think we're going to be seeing him anytime soon. I feel like he's going to the purgatory place where Tyler Fitzgerald went after he got picked off in extra innings a few weeks ago.
I think it's worse than that. I mean, Paul, he got 2 strikes put against him because he didn't get to the plate in time. What do they call that? That thing, the timer thing?
Yeah, it's a delay of game or something in baseball. No, it was incredible because he knew he couldn't hit and he was freaking out. I've never seen anything like it. Hopefully he's better at selling cars.
I mean, anyone who's ever played organized sports knows the feeling. When you're striking out, it's going bad. You get into the field, you're just scared. You don't know what to do. It's just all this negative energy. It was but I think that's the type of game that just gets you sent out of the league, and then he becomes an alcoholic in 5 years, wondering, I used to be a player. You know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I almost feel bad for the guy, but we just gave him his like 90 seconds of fame. So you're welcome, bro. Trenton
Brooks. It was good to know you.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, Camillo Doval came out yesterday after that meltdown where he slammed the cooler against the Angels. Cut to the clip. Last night, he was breathing through his eyelids like the lizards on the Galapagos Islands and throwing gas like Kenny Powers. I was happy that Camillo, even though he melted down and he's been in a bit of a rough patch, they call him Tranquilo Camilo. And it's because his blood pressure is 50/30. But he went into the dugout and he broke some shit like Brian Wilson did against the Tigers that one time.
How about this snappage here from Brian Wilson after he was taken out of the game?
I'm like what I'm seeing from Doval, just showing some emotion. Your thoughts?
Yeah, except his emotion was that he got brought into a 13-2 game and he didn't want to pitch in a 13-2 game because he's a fucking diva. I saw some interview with him. He's like, I have earned the light show. I've earned the LED through a translator. I can't do it in Spanish. LA Day. I don't know. He earned the LED light show and other shit. So he doesn't want to be doing this. And I will say, in his defense, Bob Melvin should have brought in like Nick Ahmed or somebody. They had a 13-2 lead. You can bring in a position player if it's a 10-run deficit, like fucking Little League, like mercy rule. And he should have done that. They should not have put Doval. Although I will say Doval tends to pitch better if he pitches 2 days in a row anyway, so maybe that was part of it. Mike Krukow went off on Doval this morning, or maybe it was yesterday morning, with Murph and Mac or Marcus, whoever that fucking guy is, basically saying that he was like a third grader throwing a tantrum. So look, I agree. Long term, things like this have to happen during a season. Bit of a wake up call. I guess Doval got brought into Melvin's office pregame yesterday to have a little stern talking to. So it seemed to work. It only worked, by the way, because the strike zone last night was so fucked up. He came out there, threw 2 balls and a third ball that was about 5 feet outside that Manny Rodriguez called a strike. He's our new Angel Hernandez.
Oh
Manny
my God,
Rodriguez.
like pass the mantle to him. Hey, but like speaking of being called into Bob Melvin's office, can Bob Melvin call Bob Melvin into his own office and have a talking to? Because his management of the bullpen and not pinch hitting for Trenton Brooks twice with the bases loaded. Just put up Austin Slater. I thought Kapler came back out of the blue and got dressed and put on a Bob Melvin mask. I mean, what are you doing?
That would be so scary. We should put a Kapler clip right now. I do think he and Trenton Brooks could maybe both be in like gay porn, because Trenton Brooks sounds like a porn name to me, and Kapler is, I don't know, we'll probably cut this too. Yeah.
Yeah, or Kapler, we keep it in.
Kapler's the creepiest guy in the world. Anyway, Melvin's driving me nuts. You know that last night he brought in Eric Miller to get blown up, even though Rodriguez was pitching a great inning and would have been out of the inning if Brooks hadn't dropped the pop-up. So no, Melvin, as I said to you last night, Matt, I was several drinks in. We were sitting in the 1914 club, which if anyone's ever been to the dugout club at Dodger Stadium, it's very similar. It's behind home plate, kind of an underground bunker with free everything. Thank you, Kirk Allen and Sloan Val. But I was like, Melvin he's on his 5th team for a reason. The guy's never won anything. He's never even been to a World Series. I don't think he's ever been to a league championship series. So he's a retread, baby.
Yeah, he got tossed from the game last night, which was beautiful. At least he showed some emotion. I want to stick with the Giants on a couple of more things real quick here. I want to shout out one of your boys who's not here because he's drinking at Murphy's. Dave Suter. He's an editor. He just cut the biggest grossing movie in the nation right now in the world, Inside Out 2. I don't watch animation shit. But Dave Suter, during the game, you know how we like to neg, folks. Dave Suter was sitting next to me in the 3rd row behind home plate, and he said he believed. He said he believed. And God damn it, if the Giants didn't come back, and Thairo Estrada, granted, we're in Wrigley Field, Paul, so Thairo must have saw a woman in a white dress and went Roy Hobbs smashing the clock tower at Wrigley. Nick, cut to the clip. Thairo with that home run. Paul, do you want to describe the feeling? Because you were 3 rows back. You put the neg behind me. You weren't even sitting next to me.
So I didn't interrupt that whole rant, even though I just burped up a Brussels sprout taco from Big Star. I was having one. Mike Bowles, his birthday today, is a vegan, so I had a Brussels sprout taco to celebrate his birthday, and it's not sitting great. I got to tell you that.
Okay.
So, but I didn't interrupt because Dave Suter's a good friend. By the way, Dave also said last night that he believed that you could be called for a balk with nobody on base, which shows that Dave doesn't necessarily know everything about baseball. But yes, no, it was brilliant. That would have been an out at most ballparks in this great land. It was a 370-foot pop-up, but it went out at Wrigley. Wind was blowing a little bit. It was faded. Thairo said it was the biggest home run of his professional career. And this is a man who's survived a gunshot, so he knows what life's all about. Anyway, it was very exciting. Patrick Bailey hit the scoreboard. By the way, that thing would have been on Sheffield or Waveland Avenue if they hadn't built that scoreboard to block everybody from watching from the apartments.
Paul, let's cut to some clips here. Thairo Estrada, getting shot. He looks great. Let's cut to that Sicario clip real quick.
Pregunta, paisanos. ¿Quieren morir?
Speaking of Roy Hobbs, it wasn't Thairo. The Patrick Bailey home run went 433 feet. Cut to another clip of Roy Hobbs.
That ball is still going. It's way back, high up in there. He did it.
You were actually getting a hot dog when Patrick Bailey hit that home run. I almost told you in the 9th inning to stay in the dugout club.
It always works. The game we met, Matt, in the 2010 NLCS against the Phillies, I was actually out getting Irish nachos at one point when the Giants made a comeback. So when I'm not watching, good things happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I felt like after, and this is Chicago because we're in Chicago, baby. I felt like after he gave up that 3-run homer, Eric Miller, Paul turned into Robert De Niro in Untouchables. Nick, cut to the clip.
I want you to get this fuck where he breathes. I want you to find this Nancy boy, Elliot Ness. I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground. I want to go to the middle of the night. I want to piss on his ashes.
Yes, but listen, before the game last night, the Giants, they are who we thought they were. I had given up on them, and then last night happens. And a little self-help corner here, Paul. I mean, dating the Giants feels like you're dating like a hot chick out of your league. Cut to the clip from She's Out of My League.
This girl is like fucking hot.
Yeah, but you said that same shit about Marnie. Let's face it, Marnie was kind of a skank. Hey.
I don't know what to do with this relationship, Paul. Are you finding any balance here?
They're not a hot chick out of our league. We're like keeping them around even though they've stopped having sex with us. I think that's a better analogy. And by the way, you're in Chicago if this is in your hotel room. Al Capone was a golfer.
Yeah.
Anyway, God love Chicago. After this, I'm going to go get some Malort. By the way, I don't know if anyone knows what Malort is.
Malort, yeah, or a shot of Jameson. Shout out to Jed Hathaway. I got a couple more Giants things here I want to throw at you, Paul, real quick. Helio Ramos or Logan Webb? Can they both be all-stars, or is it just going to be one of them?
I think it's going to just be Webb. I think they're going to think that Ramos is not enough of a sample size. He went all Sammy Sosa last night. He hit an opposite field laser out of Wrigley. It was a beautiful thing. He's just great to watch. I will say I'm crossing my fingers. I saw this stat today. There have been five outfielders for the Giants who've had similar starts to his. I think it's like an 800 OPS and over 150 at bats to start a season. None of those guys ended up being very good. Nate Scherholtz was on the list. Fred Lewis, maybe there were a couple other guys. So we're just hoping
I hope
he breaks that outfield curse.
His approach at the plate, though, is pretty impressive. He's going opposite. He's going both ways. He's hitting for a high average. He's got some power. I mean, the launch angle was 25 degrees on that home run, and you know how much I fucking hate launch angles. Final thing I want to ask you about, the Hunter Strickland meltdown for the Angels. I didn't even know this guy was still in the fucking league. And Hunter Strickland's pitching for the California Angels is what I'm going to call them because I just grew up with Bobby Grich and Rod Carew and Wally Joyner. But that must have been fun to watch Hunter Strickland.
It was great. I didn't know he was in the league either, Matt. And he just came back into consciousness briefly because of the Bryce Harper almost brawl. And and he gave a gift back to the Giants that he owed us karmically because he's a fucking punk who, among other things, ended Michael Morse's career in the middle of that brawl. Michael Morse was a great Giant. Anyway, but that was good. Look, they scored 13 runs on Saturday. They scored 7 yesterday. Soler is heating up a little bit. By the way, I just want to address one thing. So I am wearing a Sloan Park Cubs shirt and a Giants hat. That seems like an unholy union. I think we can all agree that the Cubs are pretty lovable. They're pretty mediocre right now. But I had this thought, Matt. I mentioned this to you last night. Who is the dominant team in the playoffs? There actually is a little bit of a rivalry between the Cubs and the Giants. It's happened twice. Mm-hmm. And the Giants lost both times. The 1998 wild card game. Remember the Giants had that run. They won like 9 of their last 10 games to get into the wild card. And all they had left was Mark Gardner to pitch that game. And they lost in Wrigley. And then in 2016, they were going to win Game 4, go home. They had Cueto, who had an all-star year that year. And they had a bullpen meltdown where Bochy wouldn't bring out Will Smith to pitch in time, and they blew Game 4.
Right, but and then you go to 1989 when we got to our first World Series in forever against Will Clark against Mitch Wild Thing Williams.
Cue that. I'm going to say
cue that clip.
Line drive, base hit. In comes one. In comes Butler. Going to third is Thompson.
When that happened, I had just gotten out of, I was at St. Ignatius College Preparatory in the Sunset, and the school day just ended. And that's when they still had day games for the MLB playoffs. And I watched that in Mr. Chiquin's history class. The whole class stayed in there, and AV brought in a television. Shout out to whoever I shout out there. Paul, what was great about last night, and we're going to put a button on the Giants right now, the Chicago fans were vitriolic when they melted down in the ninth inning. I mean, booing their team. it was actually pretty glorious. I had a shout out to the Chicago Cubs fans. We had a couple of fans right next to us that were yelling at Tom Ricketts, who was sitting in front of us, telling them to withhold Hector Neris's paycheck.
Tells you how good our seats were. And as soon as Tom Ricketts showed up, that's when the meltdown occurred. It was kind of glorious. Yeah, no, these guys know how to neg hard here, man. They had to curse the Billy Goat forever.
Merkel's something or other.
Merkel's boner. This guy next to it, he turned to you. He goes, "Hey, how long have you been a Giants fan?" You're like, "My whole life." He goes, "You know about Merkel's boner?" And Matt's like, "Maybe," but then we looked it up. It was 1908. We haven't been Giants fans for that long, but look it up. Merkel's boner. It was a base running error that cost the Giants a game in 1908 against the Cubs.
The guy who brought it up looked like he was around in 1908. Folks, that is an extended Giants segment for you because we're in the heart of baseball season. There's no basketball, but guess what? There's a little bit of football coming up, and we're going to get into some Niner news right after this break. All right, we're back, folks. First off, Paul, I don't know if you know this. There's a little bit of a community out there that loves our break music. You know, the dun, 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 dun. You just heard it, folks. We have some fans out there, and they approach us at different places. One of those guys named Chris Collins said to us the other day, I met this knucklehead only a day ago. This is one of Paul's oldest friends. Boy, oh boy, what a character. I love this guy. We should just have him on the pod for a whole thing. He's an Old Miss guy. But Chris Collins yesterday over a Budweiser was telling me that break music reminds him of when he was waiting for his mother at the salon in the late 70s.
Got to hop in the Grand Am. Oh, you haven't done housekeeping tonight, Matt, or this afternoon outside of Wrigley. Do we need to tell people where to find us?
Yeah, folks, this episode is brought to you by PetProSupplyCo.com. When you need to get anything for your pets, whether it be dogs, cats, a cat tree, a dog kennel, toys, maybe you have possums that are in your backyard, or squirrels, and you would like to take care of them and build little cages and houses for them in your backyard, you can get all those things at PetProSupplyCo.com. Use code BeatLA10 to get 10% off. Thank you for keeping the lights on. And also, folks, you can watch this show on YouTube. If you want to see Paul's outfit, you want to see what he looks like, you want to see him drinking, you want to see Wrigley Field. Right now, we're looking at Wrigley Field. Go to YouTube and subscribe to the show, okay? Please, if we ask of one thing of our listeners, please subscribe to the show. Also follow us on Instagram, TikTok. You can see all the beautiful stuff there, or follow us on Apple and Spotify. Leave a review. That's the house cleaning. Paul, let's get to some 49ers talk right now. First things first, Christian McCaffrey. I know this is a bit of old news, but he is the cover boy for the new Madden 2024-25. I stopped playing video games 10 years ago, but we all know about the Madden curse. Is this something you fear, Captain Negatron?
Yes, 100%. It was the first thing I said to you. The very first thing I said to you. He just signed a contract extension. He's a running back that Kyle way overuses. I am terrified.
Actually, because of the juju. And do you think Christian McCaffrey lets management know, like, hey, I might be on the cover of Madden? Do you think he lets like Parrig and Lynch and Shanahan know that's in his purview?
No, he kept that quiet. Yeah.
Listen, let's lean into this. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to break the Madden curse.
You know who broke the Madden curse? Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl the year after he was on it for the first time, I read, or something like that.
And guess what? If he gets hurt, that's why we always draft these running backs. We got some really exciting running backs right behind him. I'm just going to get into it now. Eli Mitchell might be our running back this year when Christian McCaffrey gets hurt.
What was the movie Unbreakable about, like some superhero was like made of glass? It was like M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong and Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson. Elijah Mitchell could be in that movie. That he is made of glass.
He's made of glass. True. We got a couple other running backs that I love. And, he might get hurt because of Olivia Culpo. And you can take that any way you want that. They're engaged or maybe they got married. But
emotionally hurt, Matt. I know how sensitive you are. And you worry about that. You worry about when these guys, you know what it's like dating a Victoria's Secret model and then getting crushed.
I do. Listen, Olivia Culpo, she could have hurt him emotionally or physically. That's where I was going with the physical. And that's a shout out. No one come at us for that. That's a shout out to two beautiful people.
You're going to cut this. They may have been in my bed upstairs in the Zachary that when I woke up yesterday and saw that there was blood on the sheets that I don't think was mine.
Hey, if we're going to get weird on this pot, I'd watch Christian McCaffrey and Olivia Culpo. I'd watch them.
Wow.
Is that crazy? Am I wrong?
That's the Fresca talking, Matt.
If you think otherwise, you got the problem. I'm just speaking the truth. All right. Before we get to the elephant in the room, which is the Brandon Ayuk shit, Paul, you texted me something the other day. The hate doesn't stop. The NFL flat earthers, this is what I equate them to. The NFL flat earthers are still giving Brock Purdy disrespect. Your friend, Chris Sims, came out with his
not just my
rankings.
Friend, Matt. He's like best buddies with Kyle. Kyle Shanahan's best butt buddy.
Nick, cut to the rankings here. He had Brock Purdy as the 17th ranked quarterback in the NFL. And then on top of that, Trevor Lawrence, and you know this, I've been saying this for 2 years, the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. Watch this guy play. All this guy does is throw it in the dirt or overthrow people. The only reason he's got what he's got is because he's got that Ken mentality thing, like Rob Pelinka, which we'll get to in a second with Alain. But I can't believe some of this stuff. The world doesn't make any sense.
You hate handsome men, Matt.
Well, you sent me this.
I don't know why you're even working with me. I mean, I feel like, you would discriminate against me, Matt.
I have the reasons I'm working with you. We'll have to talk about off the pod. But what do you think about this Brock Purdy ranked 17th by Chris Sims?
I think it's ridiculous. My bigger concern is Trevor Lawrence just got a 5-year, $275 million contract extension that's going to totally screw up the Brock Purdy market.
That's exactly right, Paul. Yeah, the Brock Purdy noise. I mean, it's pedantic to even talk about it.
He's making the same amount of money as Joe Burrow. How can he be that shitty and make the same amount of Joe Burrow? Great. His 2 years ago, he was okay. Last year, he was kind of okay, and then he got hurt. Yeah. There's a lot of advanced metrics to say maybe he's not as bad as you think, but Purdy's number one in the league in throwing the ball, whatever that stat is, of completions down the field. And Trevor Lawrence is like 17th in the league. He's a dink and dunker.
He sucks. Trevor Lawrence fucking sucks. Clip it. Just look at it. Let's cut to a reel of Brock Purdy throwing dimes.
The start of Brock Purdy's time as the quarterback, that George Kittle's kind of turned into that security blanket for him. Wants Ayuk here. He's got him!
Do you like anybody who has beautiful hair like that, though, Matt? I feel like you're mad at his hair.
I hate that guy. Yeah, I have
like
a hair.
Legends of the Fall. Like you hated Legends of the Fall. Remember Brad Pitt when he was a young man? He had that long hair.
Yeah, exactly. Cut to that clip.
Forever turned out to be too long, Tristan.
I know.
Brock Purdy, all he does is throw fucking dimes. It's the reverse of the Pelinka effect, the Ken doll thing. Just because he doesn't look the part, people hate on him. And I'm looking at you, Reg, you fucking Watkins. I'm looking at you. Hey, Paul, the Brandon Ayuk thing. The contract talks have stalled. They're far apart. There's no optimism. Brandon Ayuk drops the clip yesterday talking to Jaden Daniels, the quarterback of the Washington Redskins. And he says in the clip, they said they don't want me back, I swear. Paul, what's your take on all this? Is it a ploy? Is it just conjecture, posturing?
I don't think there's smoke or fire. I think that the Niners have a lot of leverage here. They could franchise tag him, which maybe they're going to do. He is not like Dak Prescott apparently is about to have the biggest contract in the history of sports because the Cowboys have no leverage. They can't franchise tag him. They can't do anything. Ayuk is using whatever leverage he has, whatever ploys he has, because he doesn't have the leverage. I think he's coming back. I think he may get franchised, and I think he may be gone after this season.
Well, the franchise would happen next year. I mean, he still has a contract this year for $14 million.
Oh, that's right. You're actually right about that.
Right. So
we're going to cut that part because I should know what I'm talking about.
That's okay, Paul. We can leave that in there because, at the end of the day, we're all tourists, folks. I just don't know what's going to happen here. Apparently he wants $30 million a year. And actually right now I think that is absolutely crazy. And it's crazy, and I know this is hyperbole, but NFL scouts after minicamp are saying the Niners found the next Cooper Kupp and Ricky Pearsall. I'm not saying Ricky Pearsall is Brandon Ayuk, but we can kind of sort of plug some guys in. Ayuk's great on this team, but I don't think he's worth $30 million a year.
He wants to get paid not only like Justin Jefferson, but he wants to get paid like Jefferson from the Fast Times Ridgemont High movie, played by Forrest Whitaker. Fast times are this could be the best years of our life. He wants to get paid like both Jeffersons.
Or George Jefferson from our favorite sitcom when we were kids.
Or Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson.
We could do this all day, man.
All fucking day. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there with the 49ers. Any other Niners things you want to hit on that?
No, I think we should go visit our friend Alain Uwe from Power Book 4.
All right. We are going to take a quick break. And here's that beautiful music that you love, Chris Collins. All right, we're back, Beat LA heads. And like I said before, we do have a special guest. Back with us is our NBA insider, Mr. Alain Uwe from the television show Power Book 4, shooting live here in Chicago. That's why we got him on the pod. You know, we got to have our Chicago friends in here. He's shooting season 2 right now. But we don't care about that. We'll plug it later. He's our inside the NBA beat. The season ended last night. The Celtics took the title. We'll get into that, which means NBA free agency has started. Since you're in the Beat LA pod, Alain, we're going to get to the stuff me and Paul are interested in, most importantly. And that is, last week, the big news for all us Warrior fans was Klay Thompson scrubbed his IG like a spurned side chick and took down all the Warriors stuff, unfollowed the Warriors. Paul and I have been in a little bit of therapy about this. Paul, am I correct on this?
You are. He's also working out with the Bahamian Olympic team.
That's true. He's going to play for Bahamas, Alain. First, let's get your take. What is your take? I know this is a ploy that free agents do now, but Klay scrubbing all of this and then following Paolo Banchero of the Magic. What does it all mean, Mr. Alain Uwe?
He's like the hot chick on Instagram, that the one that you had some kind of relationship with, and it's like, all right, I'm blocking everybody. He's that type of person to me. I think it's just, it's cute is what it is. It's cute. He wants attention.
Do you think he's, I'm going to open a beer just because you're here, Alain, and also because they're free.
I love it.
Inside the Sloan Suite. Cheers all. Yeah. It's not
Cheers,
an old
guys.
style,
Cheers.
Unfortunately, because somehow the Sloan Suite is sponsored by Budweiser.
I got green tea. I don't have the fancy.
Is that a Fresca,
Cheers,
Matt? How about a Fresca? We're going to cut right to the Caddyshack clip. How about a Fresca?
How about a Fresca? Oh.
So my question for you, Alain, is do you think Klay Thompson's going to go to the Lakers? He's an LA kid. He'd be a great six-man for those guys next year. What do you think?
He would be fantastic. I'll keep it real with you. I think it would be great to have him. I don't think his stats were that bad. He was 38% last year, right? He went over 10, which is something that everyone comments, it seems like, in every social media post. But yeah, we would love him. Are you kidding me? He's an amazing shooter. He still can defend at some level, but yeah, the Lakers would take him. What's the other option?
Well, no. Now you have to ask the question to us. What's the question that you would come to Warrior fans with about this?
Is he really that messed up in the head? I mean, does he have the yips? Does he have the
yips? Does he have the Ben Simmons yips? No, but the question to us should be, do we want to keep him? And I'm going to throw that at Paul. Paul, do you want Klay Thompson on the Warriors next season? Yes or no?
Not for the amount of money that he wants. I think if he's going to take less money, he'll go to the Lakers.
Here's the thing. He wants to be a starter, so he wants starter money. And last year, he was a sixth man. I think he can be great for some team. Someone's going to throw a shit ton of money at him. The question for us Warriors fans is do we, we grew up with this guy. He's one of our own. I think I would be okay with Klay leaving. It's okay. I love Klay to death. His jersey is going to be retired in the rafters. But if we want our team to get better, I think we have to let Klay go. And we need that money and also the Chris Paul money going away on the contract to sign somebody else. Paul would text me last year all the time. I mean, he's great at times, but he's not been very consistent.
Yeah, you guys can take him. But yeah, Alain, we want to know. Anyway, how you feeling about your Lakers? How you feeling about Darvin Ham getting axed? Who's the next coach? How do you feel about the fact you guys got turned down by the UConn coach? That doesn't seem like basketball royalty to me.
And hold on, cut to the clip of Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. This was the Dan Hurley press conference. Nick, cut to the clip.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving.
You and I talked about this, Matt, offline in terms of how I feel about the Lakers. I think the problem is I think it's a organizational issue. I think at this point, Pelinka has run out of shields here. This is it. Like if you're talking about if you're a video game guy, he's got no more sort of buffer. This is it. This is his last move. And I think at this point he's exposed, right? Even Jeannie Buss is exposed at this point. How I feel about everything is that it starts from the top. And I think with the Dan Hurley thing, I think it's a shot in the dark. Like, let's just swing for the fences. Let's see if we can get this guy. It is sort of an embarrassment situation. But now I've come to the other way around. I felt like it felt like a ploy from Dan Hurley a little bit. Like, let me raise my profile. Let me leverage the Lakers as a way to raise my profile. I think for the most part, a lot of people do that.
But they don't use the Lakers. The Lakers are they're like the girl at the bar at 1 a.m. Like, who's using them?
Well, I still think you guys could disagree with this, but like, I still think that the Lakers have that sort of shine, that gloss, right?
Should I say that Dan Hurley wanted to beat LA? Can I say that?
Alain, tell Paul what you're telling me, because it was fascinating for me. In Laker Nation, you kind of think Rob Pelinka isn't very smart, and this whole Jeannie Buss thing about the family money. Can you tell Paul a little bit, kind of fill him in on that, what the mindset around Pelinka and Jeannie Buss?
It starts with like, why would you hire somebody initially? I mean, it's all, I think she's not thinking outside the box a little bit. She's comfortable with this sort of circle that she has. You think about the pedigree that Rob Pelinka, he was an agent. He was Kobe's agent. There was a relationship there. But if you were really trying to run this like a company, why would you have a GM that has bad relationships with everybody within the league? It's harder to deal with people, right? So to me, that's why it's talked about in terms of like, it starts at the top. It totally starts at the top. If the owner were to bring somebody on that has those kind of relationships that you could deal with people, it would make things a little bit easier. There really is a sort of a Laker tax there. So you amplify those things. Like, no one really wants to deal with the Lakers. No one really wants to help them, unless you're Danny Ainge at Utah, who'd be willing to trade with us. But there really is that thing, like, the Kyrie situation with the Brooklyn Nets. They were like, I'm not trading you to the Lakers. Why? Why would I make you want to be happy?
Yeah, I think the thing you were saying, though, the Rob Pelinka thing, I think there's some Ken mentality going on there. Because he kind of looks the way he does. I know this is I'm going into something that has it's just hyperbole here, but I think his looks get in the way, because he looks like a guy who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
It's central casting.
Not everybody knows what he looks like. He looks like Rob Lowe, if I remember correctly.
He looks like if Rob Lowe was a drug dealer in South Beach. That's what Rob Pelinka looks like. What makes me laugh, though, Paul, is like all these Laker fans cry a river about they don't have enough money because they're a family-run business with Jeannie Buss and LeCobe and all these guys with tech money and all this money. The Lakers have a ton of money and they can do whatever the fuck they want, but they lowballed Hurley with that 6-year, $70 million contract.
I disagree. I don't think that was a lowball. Now, think about this, right? So he would have been the 6th highest paid coach. Right? Who's above them? And that it's Spoelstra, won a championship, right? Kerr won a championship. Popovich won a championship. And who was the other guy? He also won. There's 2 other guys.
I don't know, but one's Monty Williams.
Monty Williams, but we'll disregard that guy. But if you think about it, that's actually where he should be. He's a college coach that's coming in, right? And he hasn't won anything. He hasn't proven anything. So I think that's a fair, very fair, actually, offer. But that leads me to the thing, like, why would you want to dance with the Lakers when to me, it felt like more of a way to raise my profile. Now, everybody knows who he is. Yes, he's a college coach, but now he's a national name, Dan Hurley. Yes, the family has, pedigree and everything else. But like, again, it's a leverage thing to me.
Yeah.
That's just my
and now you're a big fan of his wife, too. His wife, Paul, came out afterwards, calling shots, saying, we never wanted to go to L.A.
Neither did I, Matt, but we were drawn by Hollywood.
Yeah. $64,000 question now. Is it JJ Redick or is there a dark horse?
I think it's going to be JJ. I think the writing's on the wall. I think they've kind of painted themselves in a corner. I think they're going to choose JJ. Now, if I had my
except the job's kind of tainted now, right? JJ's like, I don't want to be anybody's second choice, right? He's got a good gig. He was announced in the finals. Somehow he took Mark Jackson's job, I think. I haven't seen Mark Jackson announcing for a little while.
I think that's sort of the narrative that people are saying. I think nothing's like clearly reported, right? Everyone's just assuming like, well, now you don't want that job because you're kind of like the second choice. You're not, someone asked somebody for the prom and like, oh, you asked that person to the prom. Now you're going to ask me why would I want to go?
But Alain, the Lakers aren't painted into a corner. You can go get Kenny Atkinson, the lead guy from the assistant from the Warriors. You could go get James Borrego, who's super smart. But no, Showtime. You want JJ. It's this LA thing, this LA mentality.
And now that Boston just won too, I'm sure you guys are even more pissed off about everything.
Dude, we're so upset, and that's why I'm upset at Matt wearing green today. Like, what the fuck, man? What's going on?
Yeah, US Open.
Because he's fucking with you.
It's like a mental game. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, can I question, guys? So the Celtics won the title last night. We're recording this on Tuesday. I kind of feel like I was watching some of this stuff on SportsCenter last night. I couldn't give two shits. Is this one of the more ho-hum titles in a while? It feels like it would feel a little bit like when they won, it was a little performative. Them on the things like, we did it. And I'm like, well, it was an easy path. Right?
I didn't care too much about Jason Tatum's thing where he was trying to recreate a Kevin Garnett moment. Did you guys see that?
Did you see that?
It's like, oh, we did it.
I did, but I assume we'll be posting that so I can watch it when we post the pod.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible. We did it. We did it.
Yeah, and Jason Tatum, I'm not real impressed with him. He's kind of on the Zesty All-Stars with me right now, Alain. I was explaining to Paul last night at the game what the Zesty team is with Donovan Mitchell and Dwight Howard. But yeah, Tatum doesn't impress me. The Celtics just annoy me. People call me a Celtics hater, but I just thought their title was a little ho-hum.
Yeah, I got to ask you guys, like, as a Laker fan, of course we don't like Boston. Like, were you guys, like, what was the feeling? You said it was kind of ho-hum, but, like, were you rooting aggressively against the Boston Celtics to lose the championship, or did you care?
What they say, that the biggest insult is indifference, right? I didn't give a fuck. I was drunk at a Giants game last night where they won in basically walk-off fashion, and I don't know if you were paying attention. But what I would say about it is that we're definitely rooting against the Celtics, and we're mostly rooting against Boston. The city of Boston and the massholes and their belief that they're the city of champions. Boston takes a backseat only to Los Angeles as a place filled with assholes. So
Paul negs a lot. He negs the Tea Party. He negs the Headless Horseman with the fucking, I don't even know if that's Boston.
Wow.
But he negs it all, and I'm here for it. He hates that beer. What's that Boston beer? Sam Adams? You fucking hate Sam Adams.
My brother lives in Boston. I love my brother, but everything else about it I don't like. I don't like the weather. I don't like any part of it. I like the airport. The airport's 15 minutes from downtown. You can get in and out of that place quickly.
We're going to wrap it up here real quick. But first off, let's talk this free agent thing. There's a lot of reports that the Warriors might make a run at Jimmy Butler. I don't know who we're going to get. As a Laker fan, who do you guys want? You going to get Donovan Mitchell? You're going to go after Jimmy? You're going to get Clay? Because this is what I think is going to happen. You guys are going to get stuck with Trae Young, and it's going to be beautiful.
That's going to be the worst thing ever. I hope they don't do that. Yeah, of course we want Donovan Mitchell, but I think the person that I think is gettable is Lauri Markkanen. I think that's what we really need. We need somebody who's sort of that could pair it with AD because he's going to be the centerpiece at this point, And I think even if you had like any sort of serviceable guard that they could come in, but really what we ultimately need is something that could help sort of facilitate that sort of front court. That's it. That's all I care about is that. I mean, at the end of the day, AD is the centerpiece at this point. And LeBron's 40. Like, what are we doing? Either way, we're going to suck. We're going to be mid-team. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I love it. You speak the truth, Alain. Anthony Davis. He's the head of the Glass All-Stars. Made of glass, that guy. He sneezes. He pulls something. Alain, I love you popping in here. You're shooting Power season 2 right now, playing the assistant district attorney on this thing. How's it going on the show?
Well, let me correct you. Season 3, actually.
Season 3. Yeah. How's it going? How's it going on the show?
It's going great. We're entering the 9th episode now. It's a wild fucking ending. And then they just made an announcement a week ago that we're not getting picked up for season 4. So the fans are a little bummed out about that. But I will tell you, anyone who's listening to this now, that it's a doozy of a season. It's packed with a lot of like twists and turns. It's wild. It's exactly what you think the Tommy Egan character is, and what he represents. And literally every episode that I read that comes in, I'm like, whoa, dude, this is where they're going with this. And it's like, it's subversive in some ways, but it's fantastic. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but it is amazing. I'm having a blast just even reading it.
I love the lead on that show, James Socorro. I loved him. What was the Jason Bateman show we loved, Paul? The one that he was in?
Ozark?
Ozark. Yeah.
Ozark. Can we cut to the clip of Socorro getting shot in the dick?
I'm so sorry that I hurt her.
Good.
That's what we do here on the show.
Be careful, Matt. That could happen to you tonight outside of Wrigley.
Listen, shout out to our friend Nick Moyaris, the Beat LA therapist, who told me when I see Alain in Chicago to punch him in the dick. Yes, Alain, Power Book 4. When's it going to premiere?
I'm not sure when that's going to premiere, but I'm hoping probably later this year. So,
do you die in the end?
Yeah, I can't tell you. I can't even say anything. I can't disclose anything.
Look at us, Paul. You think we'll get picked up on this one? We have the showrunner of The Lincoln Lawyer, then we have a fucking actor on Power Book 4. Beat LA, baby, right?
Yeah, where the stars come to hobnob.
Yes.
And drink. If you were in studio with us, Alain, we'd have a real cocktail.
Yeah. There it is.
Well, I got my iced tea.
Alain, thanks for popping in on the Beat LA podcast. We always appreciate your time and your star power and your social media following as well.
You're very welcome, you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Very welcome.
We like that a lot about you. Great to see you, Alain.
That's Alain Uwe. We're going to be right back with the best things we saw. Paul, quickly, here we go. Best things we saw this week. I got a couple of things for our listeners before we get the fuck out of here. Ready?
Okay.
You want them?
Yep, let's do it.
Presumed Innocent on Apple TV Plus. It is a show based on the Scott Turow film from the 90s with Harrison Ford. It's fucking excellent. It's written by your good buddy, Princeton alumni David E. Kelly. I watched the first 2 episodes. I'm fucking in. It's so fucking good.
Jake Gyllenhaal looks nice and scumbaggy.
I walked into the show, folks who are still listening, saying, I don't really give a shit. Let me just see if this is any good. It's great. I am hooked from Jump Street. If you want a legal drama with a little bit of a thriller sex element to it, look no further than Presumed Innocent on Apple TV. And the other one, I mean, it's a layup, but Hitman, the new Netflix film with Richard Linklater, directed with Glenn Powell. I thought it was fucking outstanding. I couldn't have loved it anymore. The girl in it's unbelievable. I think it was subversive in a really weird way. Kudos. Just 4 stars. I don't need to get into the ins and outs of the show. That was great. I also watched Brat Pack, the documentary with Andrew McCarthy on the Brat Pack from the 80s. It's a little weird, but if you came up in that era, give it a watch. It's on Hulu. It's a fun 90 minutes. That as well. Paul, what say you?
Yeah, I need to watch. I hear Andrew McCarthy's sort of sad about his life and career, and it comes off kind of the anti-Blaine, if you've seen Pretty in Pink.
Right.
Matt, as usual, I didn't watch shit. I ended up finishing watching The Lincoln Lawyer. Thank you, Ted Humphrey, our last guest. I actually quite like season 1. But mostly I've been, just living the good life. Summertime, watching baseball. I watched some French Open tennis. I watched the U.S. Open golf.
Rory McIlroy.
Which is a great Father's Day tradition and just one of the epic meltdowns of all time. And I feel bad for Rory McIlroy. He's now going to be my favorite golfer because anytime I see the inside of somebody's brain like that and just see how much it meant and how much he will have to overcome that for the rest of his life. He's now known as the guy that couldn't make 2 3-foot putts on 3 holes to finish out the U.S. Open. It was great theater.
He might become a verb. You got Rory'd or you got McIlroy.
Hey, look, the guy never should have broke up with Caroline Wozniacki, the tennis player, Swiss tennis player, who very easy on the eye. And they were engaged, and Rory ended that, and he hasn't won a major since. So we're going to call it the Wozniacki curse.
There you go.
Who then married David Lee, by the way. Remember, who also, in his own way, had a curse because as soon as he left the Warriors, they started winning championships.
Well, he got one. He got one in that last year. He got.
I guess that's right. He did get the first. Yeah, coming off, he hardly played, but you're right.
Well, Paul, I just want to say I'm going to start the shout outs right here. I know you got a bunch on your end, but I just want to shout out Paul, my pod partner here, for bringing me out to Chicago, setting me up with all of his knucklehead friends. Great bunch of guys. The Sloan Suite, the tickets, the owner's suite, sitting behind home plate. You know, I give you shit about Kendall Corner all the time. I don't give you shit, but I love it. You know how to Kendall correctly, the way Kendalling should be done. And this trip and these people and going to the Cubs games like this is the best version of Kendall Corner. And not only that, but I appreciate you know what you did for me last week as well. So shout out to you, my friend.
That was nice. Touching. I'm tearing up a little bit. That might be because I'm on my third drink. So most of all, I want to shout out, well, other than you, Matt, who made the effort to come out here and join up with a bunch of dipshits who I've known forever, and you're fitting in great. I'd love the idea of doing more remotes, so let's keep them coming. Most of all, we got to shout out Kirk Allen, my good friend Kirk, who smart enough not to appear on the podcast, but he is our host, our benefactor, the head of the Sloan Valve Company, and just an overall mensch and wonderful guy. Thank you, Kirk, for hosting us as you do every year. He also hosts us at spring training. Sloan Park, they are the title sponsors of the Cubs spring training ballpark. You should definitely try to get down to Mesa for a game against the Giants in March. But thanks to, it's good to have friends.
Shout out to Alain Uwe for coming on the pod.
Who's there? Collins? Come here.
Get in here, Collins.
Get in here, Chris. Come on.
Real quick. It's the end of the show. This guy right here, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Collins,
ladies and gentlemen,
is one of my favorite guys. He went on a screed earlier on Chandler Parsons last night with the Memphis Grizzlies, which was just epic, you know. But this gentleman right here, I think he should be a main guest on the show. I want him to be the main guest.
I didn't know that was going to be remembered. I was just
he was just talking.
We're going to bring him on for SEC football, and we're going to bring him on for Memphis Grizzlies basketball.
We're going to bring Chris on for our NIL segment and for our Hugh Freeze retrospective that we're going to also
maybe when we do a special on dove hunting.
There it is. So, folks, that is the Beat LA podcast.
I look forward to it.
That's the quietest I've ever seen it.
Well, you spoke for me.
Jesus, man.
I met my match right there.
There it is. Folks, until next week, Paul.
Beat LA.